Hello, my name's Karina, your unit coordinator, and for some of you ELA. Welcome to our second flipped assessment recording. The feedback from assessment 1 was positive around this format, so we've continued it for assessment 2. However, please contact me if you are not finding it suits your learning style, and I can try and help you out a little bit further or in a different way. The concept of this tool is to provide you with this recording prior to our live session, and that allows you time to consider the information provided and then come along to the live session armed with questions and clarifications. And I'll be discussing the preparation for assessment 2, which is an essay. Now, we've decided to do this now so that you have plenty of time before this assessment is due in January, even though there's a bit of a break in between with the Christmas holidays. So this is, as I said, it's an essay and it contributes to 40% of your final mark. The word count is 2,000 words plus or minus 10%. So that means your assessment should be between 1,800 and 2,200 words. And it is an exposition essay format. And this is due on Monday, the 9th of January in 2017. Wow, that's scary. And at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So the assessment overview. This assessment task requires you to critically evaluate issues of bias, stereotypes, gender and equity with respect to how they apply to yourself and others in learning environments. The purpose of this task is to enable you to develop a deeper understanding of the complex socio-cultural factors and theoretical perspectives around human rights, diversity, equity and social justice, which impact on the lives of students and teachers. Notice here the keywords critically evaluate. This essay is really asking you to do some in-depth research into bias, stereotypes, gender, and equity, and how this impacts on the lives of students and teachers, yourself, and others in a learning environment. You're using the essay topic as your focus point in order to highlight complex socio-cultural factors. We'll look at this in a few slides. It's therefore important that you're thinking deeper and researching wider, so the learning materials and wider research, and extending this to include teaching and learning practices. So this would be the inclusive teaching and learning practices, the practical application of these theories, and the wider impact with regards to human rights, diversity, equity, and social justice. This is quite big and there's a lot of things in this assessment, and that's why you've been allocated 2,000 words so that we can make sure that you're addressing all of these things. So, the essay topic, you need to respond to the following. Everybody needs to do the same essay topic, which is just one provided in the assessment details, and it is discuss the issues of bullying and conflict in relation to learning about gender and other forms of equity and the implications these have for students and teachers. In your response, critically reflect on your learning experiences and the bias and stereotypes within yourself and others. As you will reflect on your own experience, you may write your response using first person. However, even though you're doing this, you need to remember that you have to also use relevant research to support your discussion. So you're writing your reflection and you're supporting what you're saying with academic literature. And you can do this in first person. So the word learning in this topic, as you can see highlighted in bold, might have you a bit confused once you dig a little bit deeper and you read this a few times. So what I want you to remember is this essay requires you to reflect. So the word learning here means you're learning about gender. So discuss the issues of bullying and conflict in relation to your learning about gender and other forms of equity and the implications these have for students and teachers. So learning here refers to your learning. Okay, assessment criteria. So there's 4 again. Understanding of the broader social context in which education operates. I really want you to get your head around this because there's a lot of units do focus on this, especially around diversity and equity. So I've popped in a little reading there. It's just a quick reading. to get you thinking in this area, help you get your head around what broader social context means. We really want you to understand what the broader social contexts are in which education operates, and that is actually quite huge. We want you to have a bit of an understanding of so you know what is involved and what's coming to the classroom and how difficult this can be for educators. So do a bit of research around this and fully understand what this means. Number 2, knowledge and analysis of key themes. So the key themes in this essay are gender and equity, bias and stereotypes. So in your essay, you need to have evidence of these themes. So you need to have discussed all of these themes and how they relate to inclusive practices. Number 3, evidence of reading to inform and support an analysis. So what evidence of reading? That means that you've supported what you've said. You've done wider reading. We need to see evidence of that. Academic literature, journal articles, research. We need to see that you've done wider reading to support your essay. Okay, number 4, structure and organisation of ideas, written expression, including spelling, punctuation, grammar, and referencing according to APA. Structure. So an expository essay is where you thoroughly expose the inner workings of a topic and teach the reader something new. So it typically contains an introduction paragraph outlining your thesis statement, so the problem topic and question you are addressing, along with the position you will take when addressing the problem. And this is usually 10% of an essay, the introduction, so approximately 200 words for this essay. Number 2 is the body paragraphs. So typically you would have 3 to 6 paragraphs discussing your statement using supporting evidence. This should equate to 80% of your essay, so approximately 1,600 words. And then there's a conclusion paragraph, a summary discussion of your essay's key points with recommendations or next steps. And this would be again 10%, around 200 words. Okay, I'm going to now take you across to the assessment details sheet you can access in Blackboard. Okay, here it is. Hopefully you've already had a quick look at this, or maybe you've printed it out and have it next to you and you're highlighting and writing keywords down and points. I know that when I'm writing an essay or something like this, my assessment details is always really messy by the end because I've highlighted, I've taken notes, I've ticked off things and made sure I've addressed them. Okay, so we're going to scroll down and I really want you to have a look at these additional resources. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 additional resources that will help you understand the expectations and structure of writing this style of essay. So it's as I said, there's 4, and some of them are actually a little bit funny, so it's not just boring stuff. I would actually really encourage you to have a look at these things first before you start your writing. Again, you need to understand this type of writing because it is different to assessment 1. It's not a report, so it's a different style. So really get your head around this type of writing to ensure that you're addressing the requirements. So have a look at these; they're really helpful. So if we come back to the PowerPoint here now, this slide, the information in this slide has come straight from the additional resources that I just showed you. It's the use I'm really struggling here. Exposition essay outline to stop procrastinating. So it just gives you a little bit of a guide in the structure. And I've got another one here. This is from just some more information on the structure of your essay. This is from the Swinburne Online Toolbox. It has the essay structure, and just note that the body is the longest part of the essay. Just some more information for you. Again, I got this from the Swinburne Online Student Toolbox, and it's on developing your argument. Because as part of an exposition, you need to have an argument, or your position, or your academic point of view. So what you think, but it must be supported by academic literature and research. So make sure you're coherent, provide a logical structure, and try not to repeat yourself. Sometimes you can get into a habit of finding a good point and then writing it in 3 different ways. Make sure that when you're reading it, your essay over again. It's just you can see clear points that are different. So write one clear point and move on to the next one. Then you might link them or compare and contrast them. Explain your reasoning, use evidence. That's a critical point here. Crucial point, making sure there's evidence to support what you're saying. And use reason. All really good tips. So this is from the student toolbox, developing your argument. Okay, so now that you know what you're doing, where do you start? So you've done a bit of research, you've looked up how to write an exposition, you've done all of that stuff. Where do you start? You'll need to take a position on your topic, but this will generally come about as a result of your research. As you're reading, you'll find your position. That being said, you can plan your essay structure as a first step. Organise the information you need to include. So brainstorm, use mind maps, and use this based on some of the initial research that you do. I know when I'm writing an essay, I tend to write the introduction last, as I just like to start writing and then come back. But everyone will have their own way for planning out how to start your essay. These are just some tips, again from the toolbox. Okay, so academic writing. Theory, what is it? We did talk about this in the last assessment. We'll just sort of cover it again. So it's anything that you're reading from an academic point of view, and it's what's used to support your ideas. Have you linked theory to practice? So have you linked to inclusive teaching and learning practices? How does the research and the theory that you've come across, how does this link to actual teaching practice? So it's the practical application. We like to see that in your essays. Can you get the theory and the research, and can you link it to practice? Have you included learning materials and wider readings and referenced correctly? Have you included correct punctuation, grammar, and sentence structure, ensuring that there's a professional polish? Make sure you're considering all these things. Okay, so again, you're going to be marked using the holistic rubric. You got a bit of a practice at that last assessment. So this simply means that you need to demonstrate each descriptor before you can be considered for a higher grade. Let's go have another look. Let's go have a quick look. So if we go back to the assessment details that I showed you before, and we scroll down and we have a look at the rubric, and let's have a look at the pass grade. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 descriptors here, or dot points or bullet points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to ensure that you are meeting all of these to be able to pass this assessment. So let's have a look at the first one, an introduction that defines both the topic of the essay and the structure of the essay. There's two things there. The introduction needs to outline the topic and also what the structure of the essay is. So in this essay, what will you be doing? You need to have those two things. I would highlight those so that you know that those two things need to be included in your introduction. Clear definitions or descriptions regarding key themes relevant to the essay topic. You need to have that. A clear structure. References to scholarly and non-scholarly literature. So if you only have non-scholarly literature, so you're just referring to websites, you don't have any scholarly literature, so academic, research or journal articles, excuse me, then you can't pass. Excuse me. And of course, the written expression is consistent with the requirements of a university course. Okay, so again, if we scroll down the credit, you need to get all of the pass descriptors and all of the credit descriptors to then be considered for a distinction. And again, same thing applies. You need to get all of the descriptors in pass, credit, and distinction to be considered for a high distinction. And that's just how it works, how the holistic rubric works. I want you to have a look at the holistic rubric. I want you to look at all the language that's used and break it down and ask questions in your discussion board if you don't understand what something means. And heaps of people did that in the last assessment. They just didn't understand some of the language used. That's fine. This is where we discuss it in the discussion board. You're not on your own here. So if you find a word or one of the descriptors you just don't understand, because it is some of them are quite loaded, then just pop it in the discussion board and see what everyone else thinks. Okay, that's me out of time.